Hello everybody! Today I want to talk about Monsterhearts. So here's the gist. Monsterhearts is a tabletop role-playing game powered by the apocalypse, meaning that it's based on the Apocalypse World tabletop role-playing game. But don't worry, you don't need to know anything about that system to be able to play this one. All the rules you're going to need to know are in the Monsterhearts rule book, or I'll be talking about a lot of them today in this video. So if you've ever wanted to live out a supernatural teen drama like the Vampire Diaries, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or Teen Wolf, this might be the game for you. Because Monsterhearts takes place in high school, but with a twist. All of the player characters are monsters. This game's version of a game master is called a Master of Ceremonies, or an MC, and ideally you're going to want an MC and 2 to 4 other players to play this game. This game is also D6 based, so each player is going to want to have 2 D6 on them, or at the absolute minimum, if you're playing in person, the whole group can share 2 D6. The MC should print out character sheets for every skin that you're going to allow in your game, the skins being the type of monsters that your players can be, and each of the players is probably going to want a pencil to write down notes on their character sheet. That brings us to creating the characters, which could honestly be an entire session all on its own because it can take quite a while, and you're also going to want to have everyone together for this because your characters are going to have intricate backstories with each other that we'll talk about later. The first thing you're going to want to do at this session 0 is hand everybody the character sheets for all the different skins that they can pick from. This will allow everyone to kind of read them over and decide which one they want to play. After picking a skin, you'll start to flesh out who your character is by picking a name, a look, and an origin. And all these things are going to be listed on your character sheet with examples for you to choose from. Now we'll look at each skin's stats. The 4 stats used in Monsterhearts are hot, cold, volatile, and dark. Hot refers to how physically attractive or otherwise alluring your character is. Cold refers to your character's ability to be cruel and calculated, and also determines your ability to keep calm under pressure. Volatile determines how impulsive and quick-tempered your character is, and also contributes to their fight or flight instinct. Dark refers to how mysterious and sinister your character is, and also determines how much you dabble with otherworldly forces. When creating a new character, you'll have 2 different stat breakdowns that you can choose from based on your skin. These breakdowns are going to have 1 stat with a +2 modifier, 1 stat with a +1 modifier, and then 2 stats with a -1 modifier. Which stat breakdown you choose will help determine your character's personality. Now the next thing you'll be able to pick for your character are your moves. Moves are abilities or things that your character can do that will affect the other characters of the world around them. There are some moves that are common that every player character will be able to use, but we'll talk about those more in a little bit. Certain skins also have other decisions that they need to make at this point, such as the witch would be able to pick their hexes, or the ghoul would be able to pick their hunger. Each skin also has a specific sex move, which is something that will happen if your character sleeps with another character, whether that be another PC or an NPC. Your skin's character sheet will also discuss a darkest self, which your character will become during certain circumstances during the game. This text will decide how your character thinks and acts during this time, and it will also let you know how you can escape this darkest self. Alright, now that you've read your character sheet and made all of those decisions, it's time for everybody to come back together to work on your backstories. First, you'll want to give everyone a chance to go around and describe who their character is. Tell everyone your character's name, how they look, their personality, and anything else you think would be important about them. At this point, also go ahead and ask other people questions about their character if you need clarifications. Once everybody knows about each other's characters, you can go ahead and pick who is going to be the first person to distribute their strings. Now you can do this randomly on a volunteer basis, or if the mortal is in the game, then the person to their left should start because the mortal should be doing their strings last. When it's your turn, read the backstory section of your character sheet aloud so that everyone can hear it, and then go ahead and decide how you want your strings to be distributed. If you give a string to somebody or take one from them, the 2 of you should work out how this event happened and how you 2 were able to gain strings on each other. For example, if you're playing the witch, you'll give one of your strings to somebody who caught you rummaging around in a friend's bag. You might want to decide at this point what you were looking for, whose bag it was, how you were able to convince them not to tell on you, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be super specific, but it will help flesh out your character, and it will give you the 2 of you something in your past that you can bring up in conversation later. After all strings have been distributed, everyone should figure out who has the most strings on them. At this point, the player who has the most strings on you gets to choose one of your stats. That stat is considered highlighted, and every time you use that stat, you get to gain an experience points that can help you become more powerful later. After this, the MC will also get to choose a stat for each player so that they'll have 2 highlighted stats by the end. The last thing you need to do before you're ready to play the game is to create a seating chart for homeroom or whichever class all of your characters will have together. The MC should ask each player character where their character would be sitting and maybe who might be sitting around them. The MC and player characters can work together to fill out these NPCs and fill up their classroom. And now you're ready to play the game. While you're playing, the MC will construct scenarios and build up scenes for your characters to play in and interact in. A lot of these interactions will take place as conversations between characters, but sometimes if your intentions are a little more than just friendly small talk, you might want to use a move. So we talked about these a little bit before, but I'm going to go ahead and go more in depth in the moves that every player character will be able to use regardless of their skin. You could use your hot stat to try to turn someone on, you could use your cold stat to try to shut someone down or keep your cool, you could use your volatile stat to lash out physically or run away, and you can use your dark stat to gaze into the abyss. And of course you have your character specific moves that you can also use. Now when you're using one of these moves, the MC is going to have you roll for it. You're going to roll 2d6 or 2 6-sided dice, and then you're going to add the modifier to it depending on which move you're using. For example, if I wanted to shut someone down and I had a cold stat modifier of +1, I would roll my 2d6, add those together, and then add the 1 to it. Rolling a 10 or above yields the best result for you. A 7 through 9 means a success, but it comes at a price, and anything 6 or lower is a failure. The description in the rulebook will let you know all of the possibilities for these 3 outcomes, and then you guys can continue to play the game from there. You might get the option to take 1 forward, and that means that you can add 1 to a future roll. Also, if you fail, it's not all bad because you get to get an experience point for it. Using moves is also when you'll be able to use those strings that you've either gathered or given away. Strings represent emotional power that one character has over another, and pulling those strings allows you to use that power to try to get a better outcome for yourself. You can pull a string to add 1 to a roll against a certain player, subtract 1 from a roll that they make against you, add 1 to any harm that you deal them, give them a condition, or even tempt them with an experience point to do something that you want them to do. Make pulling your strings thematic and fit into the story. For example, if you know what one character is into, you might be able to use that against them when you try to turn them on. Or if you know that they've got a trick knee, you can try to use that to deal more harm to them. Now we'll go ahead and talk about conditions. Conditions can be given to a player through certain moves or by pulling a string on them. Certain moves, like the Queen's Sex move, will give players certain conditions, such as that one giving the one of them condition, or if it doesn't specify, you get to make up your own. Condition shouldn't be something that the character is feeling, but rather a physical circumstance or a reputation that they've gained. And the conditions should also refer to the move or string pulling that gave them this condition in the first place. For example, if a popular character rolls to shut someone down and they put a condition on the person that they shut down, maybe they'd give them the condition loser, and then it would be easier for other popular characters to tease or bully that person. Also, if you take advantage of a character's current condition, the MC may let you add 1 to your rolls against them. Now we'll go a little bit more in depth into harm, which I've talked a little bit about so far. A player character can actually die if they accumulate 4 harm, so pay attention to how hurt you are. Harm is dealt at different levels depending on the severity of the instance that caused it. For example, dealing 1 harm might be an injury that wouldn't necessarily need medical attention but would still hurt, like say, getting punched or having a chair thrown at you. Anything that would need medical attention would constitute 2 harm. This would be something like taking a bat swing right to your head or being clawed by a very large animal. Anything worse than that, and it would have to be really bad, would cause your character to take 3 harm. You can heal harm done to yourself by taking some time to tend to your wounds. Doing this by yourself will heal 1 harm, but having somebody help you, maybe sensually, can have you heal 2 harm. A Accumulating 4 total harm would mean that your character is dead, but you can avoid death in one of 2 ways. You could become your darkest self, or you could lose all strings that you have on everybody else. You can only do each of these things once though per session. And that's pretty much all you need to know in order to get a game of Monsterhearts going. There's of course a lot more information in the rulebook around MCs planning the story, and also the skins are pretty interesting to read, but hopefully this was enough to show you if you might be interested in this game or not. I'll link the website where you can buy the rulebook and check out all the skins in detail down below, so check that out. And also if you want to see this game in action, Critical Role did a one-shot of it last year for Valentine's Day, so I'll link that in the description too. It's a pretty good watch. That's all I've got for you guys today, so thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be posting videos every single Wednesday, so go ahead and subscribe to me if you want to see more of these. Also leave me a like if you like this video, and also comment if you want to chat with me or suggest a topic for a future video. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next week. Bye!